We've got the man himself, Cory Dickman, Blazers Edge, Rip City Roundtable, covering the Blazers. He's also my boss here at Rogue Media Network, but he covers the Blazers absolute wall to wall. And those are tough people to find these days. And so when this Jrue Holiday trade went down, I knew we had to talk to him about it. So Cory, just first and foremost, thoughts from your perspective on the trade.
Yeah, Cam, it was rough. I would say my first reaction when I saw it, notification on my phone, and I'll say that was my first, when I heard about it, because, like you said, I write for the Blazers Edge. It's a SB Nation website, but it's probably the top content source for anything Trailblazers. Like you said, there's not lots of us, but we're here. And none of the guys, we were talking about, hey, what, just in our Slack, just, the 11th pick, should we trade it? What are we, no one was talking about this. And then the second it pops up on my phone, pops up on everyone's phone, and then our Slack's just all about it. But my first response was just like, this is stupid. It's like, didn't we traded for Jrue Holiday already? Like, why? What are we doing?
This must feel like an unbelievable homecoming. Like if Bill Walton actually went back to Portland in '85 instead of the Celtics, that would have been a huge deal. Now Jrue Holiday, team icon, back in Portland.
Team icon. Yeah, he was with us for those glorious 24 hours before we flipped them to Boston. So yeah, just like Walton coming back. So anyway, I think a lot of disappointment. It just didn't make sense for what we're trying to do, what I believe we should be doing, the Trailblazers, which is just not win right now. I know everybody in the Northwest, a lot of Portland fans are they're ready to make a first round and lose, but they're excited for that, and I don't know why. So we need to just lose. We need to be bad another year. And Jrue Holiday, Cam, and you watched him for a season where you won a championship, and then last season, but I don't think he fits what the Blazers are trying to do. It made no sense to me.
So that does kind of lead into my next question. As someone who doesn't watch Portland a ton, just looking back on last year, I know some things got better as the season went on. And I said on the show yesterday, I was like, I think the Blazers are closer than people think, but I don't know that they're this close. Like the reason you flipped Jrue Holiday the first time was because he really is only super effective for a small concentration of teams, like those that are ready to win a championship, need a final piece, need a dogged defender, a guy who's been there before. So it doesn't feel like the Blazers are that close. So is this an example of Chauncey Billups trying to build something like the 04 Pistons here?
I think Chauncey's effect is definitely all over this. I was shocked that Chauncey got a new contract with the team.
More than he got with the Celtics.
Yeah, totally, way more. And so when Chauncey came back, it's a coach, so you figure, well, we might still just be bad for another year, so maybe that's fine. But yeah, I think Chauncey really wanted this guy. I think he wanted Jrue Holiday. You're right, because of the defensive mindset. He plays a lot like how Chauncey did toward the end of his career. But the problem is, at least for the Trailblazers, right, our whole hope is that Scoot Henderson still develops and Shaedon Sharpe, our shooting guard, takes leaps. And Jrue just takes away minutes. We saw this 2 years ago, with your boy Malcolm Brogdon. We traded for Holiday. We flipped him to you guys for Brogdon, and then Brogdon came in and just took up a bunch of minutes from when really we just needed to get our young guards playing. And so if we had a Wemby, or you have a center or a forward that's young that needs development, sure, man, bring in Jrue Holiday. Just like the Spurs brought in Chris Paul. But our players that we're trying to develop play the same position. So I don't know. And at the money he's making, Cam, 34 million or 30, it just doesn't make sense to me.
3 more years of that.
Oh, the only thing that makes sense, and Joe Cronin has when the trades he's made, our general manager for the Blazers, Joe Cronin, the trades he's made, his first big one was the Damian Lillard trade, which I do believe he had to do. The other great trade he made was flipping Brogdon to the Wizards. We get Avdia, who's been incredible for us last year. But the bad side is he didn't do anything at the trade deadline. This past trade deadline, we had all these assets. Your boy again, Robert Williams, the third, it needed to be traded. We didn't do anything, and so Joe Cronin, I'm like, what are you doing? And then this trade, because of all those years left, unless there's a trade partner tonight for the draft, Cam, unless he knows we're flipping Holiday again to some other team, this doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so you mentioned Rob Williams in there. Before I get to the actual return, I was a little surprised to not see Rob Williams as a part of this. Like, I love him. He's one of my favorite Celtics, but as I think you probably know by now, those appearances are few and far between. The guy just can't string a month together where he's playing healthy and playing at the top of his game. Were you surprised to not see Rob Williams as a part of this?
I was, man. And in much like a lot of people, I listen to the Bill Simmons podcast, pretty regularly. And, it's always going to be heavy Celtics. And I think there's still a love for Rob out there. And you tell me, but I think Rob Williams would have been welcomed back to Boston, and it would have made sense. If we could have gotten some of their assets back too, that totally would have worked. I am surprised, Rob. I'm surprised it only was Simons in this trade, honestly. You're 100% right.
Yeah, and I don't know if that was because, Portland takes on all of the contract or whatever, then we won't throw Rob Williams in there. But knowing that you were going to trade Porzingis most likely, which now has happened, it would have made sense to probably have Rob Williams in there. But looking at the actual trade and getting Anfernee Simons in return, expiring contract, here's a guy who, 20-point-a-game player over the last couple of seasons. He's really developed into kind of a pro here. The Blazers got much better defensively towards the end of the year, and I don't know that he was a huge contributor to that, considering his defensive metrics. So what are the thoughts on Simons leaving, with 1 year left on the deal?
Yeah, Simons, you're going to experience that this season. He's not a defensive stalwart. Simons was he was our longest tenured Blazer. He really learned under C.J. McCollum and Lillard, and so he learned a lot of great offensive moves, but he didn't learn a lot of defense from those guys. And so, the defense will suck from Simons' part, but you pair him with Derek White, who is a good defender. I think the Celtics can preach a different mentality than what we were preaching, especially the last couple seasons. So Simons might lock in a little bit, but you're getting a tremendous shooter. His playmaking. I covered probably 40 some odd games last season for the team, and I was blown away by Simons' playmaking ability. Everyone in Portland was trying to convince themselves that he could be the point guard. Let's move on from Scoot. He can be the point guard. Simons is good there. And so I don't know if I ever agreed with that, but his court vision has improved a ton over the last couple seasons. And so you're getting somebody that can keep the ball moving, but man, when he's going, that shot is pure, Cam. And so, you take a flyer on Simons, see what you get this year, and that's the great part about the Boston trade. I just love this for Boston. It's such a good trade for Boston. But I think you're going to like Simons, Cam, and I think if Derek White can cover up some of the defensive stuff from Simons' part, it's a lot like when Pritchard. I imagine when Peyton Pritchard comes in the game,
That's what I'm thinking he'll take on this year. I think Pritchard's probably going to start. And then you can have this kind of guy off the bench who can score 15 for you just basically anytime he goes out there in a bench role.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that's Again, this is just a weird year for the Celtics. They're not going to contend without Jason Tatum on the floor. I think they'll just be a playoff team. I think they'll be okay. But it's going to be interesting to see how these next couple of moves, because there are still going to be some moves, kind of shake out for the Celtics. All right, Cory Dickman, last thing I want from you today. I'd like a letter grade, like we're back in school, okay? Letter grade for both teams. Like, what do you give the Blazers in this trade? And you said you already love the Celtics side, so what would you give the Celtics in this trade?
100%. Okay, well, that's a good question. I think, considering, like you just touched on it, this might be a lost season for the Celtics just because of Tatum's injury. And so, considering that part of it, I think you got to give the Celtics an A- on this. I think you cleared the cap space, which it's not just like, oh, we're trying to save the new owner's money. It's genuinely giving yourself some flexibility in the cap and all that stuff. So that was really smart. He is a fantastic player. Simons is like, again, I'm a Blazers fan and I cover the team, so we see him all the time. But Simons they were trying to make him the heir apparent to Lillard. Like the Blazers wanted Simons to be the guy. And, I'm not saying clearly he didn't get there, but I don't even know how much of that was necessarily his fault. And so you're getting a guy that's a stud, and he'll continue to get better. He's expiring, right? We talked about that. So, if it doesn't go well, you cleared space and you move on. If it does, you can offer him a new contract or whatever. I mean, that's awesome. Celtics get those 2 draft picks too. They're second rounders. That's probably nothing, but still, it's something.
Love moving those to the deadline. Yeah.
Cam, when I saw the trade at first, I thought it was Jrue Holiday and 2 second rounders for Simons, and I was still upset. And then when I actually looked at it again, and I realized we were giving the second rounders up, I was all over again. So give me A- for the Celtics. Then the Blazers, man. I'm gonna say a grade, but it leave me room to change it if the idea was to flip Holiday tonight on draft night. But if that's not the idea and Holiday's here to play, it's like a D+. It's a D+. Holiday, he's 34 years old. 3 years of all that money. He plays the same position where we're trying to develop our 2 future guys. And then I saw that report. I don't know if you saw that. It was on Twitter, or what. It said he was pissed that he was coming here. I don't know if you saw that, and I don't know if that's true or not. But it's like, you kind of, if he's not happy, then you don't have that good locker room guy. So yeah, I give a D+. Not happy, bad grade.
D+, but he could give you +D. Am I right, fellas? Thank you. Thank you.
That's why you're the man, Cam. That's why you're the man right there.
Cory Dickman, Blazers Edge, Rip City Roundtable, Rogue Media Sports Network, giving the Celtics an A-, an Anfernee Simons -, on the trade deal for Jrue Holiday. Cory, appreciate you taking the time. We will catch up with you next time these teams cross paths, if Bill Walton dies again or if Evan Turner resigns with the Blazers leaving the Celtics. We will definitely catch you up on it. That has been the Cam Show today. Be sure to like and subscribe. Get involved in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about the trade. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air. We're live on YouTube, as we are 5 days a week, and then available wherever you get your podcasts as well. We will see you tomorrow on a little ditty that we like to call The Cam Show.